Okay. See what happens. All right. Do we have any public comments this evening? Not
Okay.
seeing any. Oh, see what happens. All right. Do we have any public comments this evening? Stop that. Not
Okay.
seeing any. Just close it. That's fine. So we won't be streaming on YouTube tonight, but we are recording and we'll just post it. It's not life or death for sure. So we do have a presentation tonight that's going to be really great. It's about the technology integration with Woodshop with Mr. Brad Nini's. So we're going to put that up on the screen for you. And then does the mic work over there? Did you do that? Okay.
Yeah, you
Thank
just
you.
got to hit the button to turn on the smaller, thin mic.
Good to go. All right. I'm Dave Bradnini. I've been a tech ed teacher here since 2006. Dave Bradnini. I've been a tech ed teacher here since 2006. My first year when I started, we had 8th grade tech ed, 1 woodshop class, 1 video class, a flash class, and a web design class. And since that time, we've been able to grow the program over the years to our current offerings, which if you hit the next slide. So our current offerings, we have graphic design, introduction to video, cinematic principles, which is also a video production class, broadcasting technologies, and set design. Set design is a combined class. It's basically an art and construction class where we build a set for the play. Currently, we're building that on the stage itself or outside, weather permitting. We also have an engineering pathway that has robotics, computer science, engineering design, which is a CAD class. It uses a lot of 3D printing and things of that nature to create 3D models. Introduction to engineering and advanced engineering. What we're hoping to do by using the space over here, the old, I believe it was room 144, is to expand our course offerings for our students. If you go to the next slide, the classes that we're looking to do are materials and processes 1 and materials and processes 2. These are basically modern day shop classes. Whereas before it would be like, let's build a birdhouse, let's build, a little boat or something like that. What we do is we get into the applied math, we get into the forming, joining, adhesives, different construction techniques, different materials that we use. So it's more advanced, provides the students with a more real world opportunities. So if they get out of high school and they don't want to go to college, they'll have some background in the construction field and working with their hands. It's also a great thing for all of our students, no matter what level, to come out with some form of hands-on ability. Everybody has a house, and it'd be nice as well. Eventually, you're going to have to fix something that breaks. It's nice to have some of those skills. The computer integrated manufacturing class, that would be a class that we haven't taught before. And what that is it uses CNC machining. So we program the machines, routers, engravers, things of that nature, and basically give the students the skills that they can go in and then either go to industry through the EWIB, the Eastern Connecticut Work Board, or through the Westerly Ed Center. So it gives them kind of a heads up on programming. And talking with some community college professors, some of the kids are actually not even making it through the first CAD class before or for the program CNC class before they're getting poached for the workforce. As long as they have some sort of skills and experience with it, they're going right into the workforce. And they'll train them, EB and whichever other companies will train them in their own manufacturing style that they want. All 3 of these courses, what they do allow us to do is to also satisfy another requirement for a Perkins grant pathway, the manufacturing pathway. Right now we have an accounting pathway. This is just not school-wide, but this is just for Perkins grant, which I'll go over in a little bit. So it has, we have accounting and we have marketing, and then we have a STEM pathway. And this will open us up with a couple other courses that we aren't currently offer to the manufacturing pathway. The way that Perkins works is they'll only fund certain things that are needed locally. So for us, it's STEM, than it's manufactured, being so close to EV. So we can't spend any of our funds on video production, but Fairfield, closer to New York, they can spend on video. It's just kind of the nature of what the local needs are. Next slide, please. So what the Perkins grant is, it's a federal grant for CT, career and technical education. And we are not big enough to go out on our own. So what we do is we join a consortium through Learn. So it's 8 other districts. And what we get each year is about $12,000 that goes towards our CTE program. It can only be spent on what's been identified by the state for our region, and also it has to be taught by a CTE teacher. So if we have a science teacher teaching an engineering class, the funds can't be used. If we put a projector in the media center with those funds, it goes against it. It has to be specifically in a CTE classroom. So we get 12,000. We got 12,000 this year. 2,000 goes to professional development, which they provide for us, which is great, consortium wide. The rest we can spend on various supplies and equipment that we need. This year we got 2 filtration systems, shop vac, a few other things. We spent a lot on our robotics program. So the kits are expensive. So we got 4 new robotics kits as well. So that kind of took care of this year's funds. Pathways, like I said, they have different pathways. So they have in agri-science, they have marketing, they'll have 7 different pathways. So for us, we would be able to open up a 4th pathway with the addition of having a space over at the shop. Part of the Perkins grant is also a comprehensive local needs analysis. That's basically done by the state. What we qualify for is that manufacturing portion. And I believe it's marketing, being so close to the casinos as well. So within that, they look at local market, labor resources, things of that nature. We go through, and every student that is taking a CTE class, we look at their grades, how they perform. We look at where they fall within the demographics. Are they underserved population? So one of our goals is always to increase our female participation in our programs, which helps to really bump your numbers up. And then there's also the nice thing is evaluation of the current CTE program. So we have to do kind of a look now thing, and we analyze exactly where we are, what we think our needs are. And that's done through the CTE teachers, there's 4 of us, as well as admin. It's kind of like NEASC, where you do that self-assessment right at the beginning. So you kind of have that, all right, what do we need? And then they look and they're like, all right, so if you need this, this is where your funds are going to be going. So it kind of directs it. So you're not just like, I want to buy a tank, it has to be specifically to what qualifies. You can't just go randomly spending stuff, and now everything gets approved through the state. So if it's not justified, if we're not showing a need for it through our CLMA, then it doesn't get approved, and then we have to go back through the process and find something that works. Next slide, please. So additional funding that we look out for ourselves. So we get a nice size budget from you guys, which goes to mostly supplies. Perkins grant goes to our equipment, which helps us keeping, up to pace with everybody else. We always want to be on par with surrounding districts. But beyond that, in the past few years, we've gone out and we actually qualified for the Perkins supplemental grant, which was a rural grant. We're a smaller district. And through that, we were able to get a new computer lab with brand new machines. And I think that grant was somewhere around 36,000 that we got, which is a good chunk of change for us. Really helps update. So then down the line, those computers there went to somewhere else that could use them. So we really were able to, help the program out. As machines get older, they slow down. So what would take a video 30 seconds to render out, if it takes 5 minutes, now I have a kid that's sitting there for 5 minutes while it does this. So it really helps us to, move the pace of the classes along. And we also participate in the Amazon Future Engineer program. We apply for that every year. And what that is it's kind of a stock curriculum. So it has computer science modules that students can work through at their own pace. So if a kid misses a week of class, they can do that at home. You don't need a big machine to run it. It also offers opportunities for AP classes. They did an artificial intelligence day last year, and they also do a lot of webinars and then like in-class field trips. So they'll have an engineer from NASA that you log on to for a Zoom meeting, and he'll give a presentation for your class. So that's really helped with our computer science program. Any questions about where we stand currently on tech ed?
Yeah, quick question. Do you guys do any additive manufacturing, 3D printing?
Yeah, we do a lot of that. Is that Alex?
Yeah, sorry.
We do a lot of 3D printing in the engineering design class. So we use SolidWorks, which is pretty much the industry standard. One of the industry standards for 3D modeling. And we use that, and we design, different projects through that have to satisfy different requirements. Like one of them is to create a puzzle piece. The puzzle that you have to 3D print that goes together. One is like moving gears that they design. So they go into the gearing, calculate how many teeth are needed, and then, calculate the ratios and actually build the gearboxes themselves.
Yeah, no, it's great stuff. SolidWorks is great for that type of stuff. How many students do you have, and did it grow from last year?
This year, let me see. I have my biggest class is set design. That's that combined art class. We have 21 in there this year. Last year we had 19. That one the kids want to take that are a little bit more hands-on, because we use the chop saw, we use scroll saws, it's more of a construction class. Our numbers this year are very good, especially this semester. I can speak to video production is like 15 or 16 for myself and Miss Devine. Middle school, those are big. I have one of 19 this quarter and one of 16. Miss Devine's class for computer science had to be moved to a different lab to account for the number of students. So that's in the video production lab right now. So that's about 15 or 16. The program, it's growing. Nice thing is we have that feeder system from 7th and 8th grade. So they get the introductory program with me in 7th, and then in 8th, they get another tech ed program where we do CO2 cars. We'll build catapults or mousetrap cars, things like that. And then Miss Devine does a video production class, which is 1 quarter. So it gives them the opportunity to, get familiar with us and also see the interesting things that we do. I think there is more opportunity for growth. If you put a materials processing class in, it's not going to take away from our other classes. It's just going to add to our programs. Instead of running a class of 6, you'd run a class of, 15, 16. So it's
nice. I'd love to understand what do you need to do that, for funding or support or whatever.
To make the move across the street, or to just
as an example, or to do what you just said in expanding.
In expanding, we need space. That's the biggest thing. We have on our side, we have 2 small rooms that we work on. We do the best we can. We were able to get into the library and expand our video production from 12 up to 16, 17. So that really helps us, offer things for our students. Over here on this side, we have a lot more basically things in place that allow it to happen. We have the ventilation system that we can hook into our, CNC router, to our sheet metal engraver. So that's already in place. So we can use additional Perkins fundings to grow that program as well. I think, like I said, we have the 2 filtration systems that I already bought. So those will help us out on this side. Portable, they work well. I've looked at the shop, I've been through it. The ventilation system works, the vacuum system works. Most of the tools work. I just need probably a fence for a table saw. That one's a little bit, I wouldn't use that one. Other than that, we have all of the old hand tools. We have small scroll saws, drill presses, everything over on the other side. So we have palm sanders, we have clamps, there's wood down there right now even that we've been using for set design. So
Oh, nice. I appreciate the information. I'd love to take a tour with you to kind of see what you guys do in person.
yeah, anytime.
And,
Yeah. Feel free, just reach out.
No doubt. Thanks.
I work with someone Deb.
Yep, thank you.
Can you just give some examples of how you encourage a diverse group of students to join, including like how are you recruiting women into the class and things like that?
We do a lot of, the thing with the Perkins grant is that it allows us to participate a lot of field trips. They pay for our transportation, which is a big part of that. So what we do is we do a lot of women in engineering events. We attended the Pfizer Digital Girls in Technology event this year. And even just through word of mouth of, like, hey, you should take this class, and they enjoy it in middle school, and then it just kind of grows. It's also nice we are very fortunate to have Miss Devine, who is a strong female role model in the field. So it's nice to have that. A lot of districts, it's really a male dominated teaching profession. So having that, they see, and that's great. Kids are like, oh, you should teach welding. And I'm like, you should have Miss Devine teach welding. She's better at it than I am. So it's, they don't quite get that, and just our availability. If they have questions, if they have concerns, we're very welcoming teachers. So I think that goes with, we treat everybody the same. That logistics are up to, I would say, probably the facilities.
The goal would be to get the wood shop ready to go towards the beginning of the summer, so that we don't risk not having it ready day one next school year.
That, the set design class right now, it's not ideal having it on the stage. When we make cuts, that sawdust goes on the gym floor if they have a states game. Like Ellen Turner has already asked me, like, don't cut before the game. So that's not going to happen. But we have, it's not ideal. We have to move equipment from my room over across. It's just, I don't like having, it's supervision wise too. If I'm outside, I don't, if we're in a shop, I can see across that thing pretty easily. If I'm outside supervising someone on a chop saw, I can't see what else is going on the other side. It is a co-taught class though, which is cool. So when that happens, then it's not an issue. So
Any other questions for Mr. Brady? Well, thank you so much. It really helps us to understand kind of the need for it. And I'm assuming that moving forward with taking the space back over here is something you're in favor of.
Very much so.
Okay, great. All right. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
For having him come in. That helps us with that part of the budget to kind of understand a little more of what that program looks like. So we
Yeah, you
appreciate
can
that.
see it's way more involved and impressive than just saying, hey, let's open the wood shop. I think it's a real opportunity. It's awesome that we have an enthusiastic teacher willing to do it. I think a lot of schools don't have that, and they've given up that opportunity. And it's hard to find good shop teachers, and we're very fortunate to have one. I think we should let him do what he wants to do.
Troy, can I just ask really quickly? Sorry, I just thought of this as I was considering it. I mean, in terms of teaching assignments, this will be transferring a certain class that he already teaches over here, or that will be adding new teaching periods to his day, or that's removing another class and replacing it with this?
I think it's a kind of a combination of all of those things. It really kind of depends on what the kids sign up for. We'll offer and have these new courses, he said, in the program of studies. So those are new courses that he put up there. And depending.
Hi, sorry, this is Kristen. Can I speak to that for a second?
Oh, please, yes.
So sometimes what we do is we might offer a third section of video production to spread the kids out a little bit so that they can get more individual time with students. But what we would do is we would just look at the numbers, and we might offer one less section of video production and replace it with the materials processing. So we're not going to bump anything out to do this. We're just going to look at building a more diverse offering now that we have the space to do so.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, can I just ask one quick one, just to cover all our bases? So we're good with the kids going under Route 2 in the tunnel and they'll come back and forth, and transporting sets and everything is going to be not an issue, things like that.
Yes.
Okay, great, thanks.
Okay, anything else? All right, takes us up to superintendent report.
Okay, good evening. I have a few things on my report to mention to you tonight. Since we don't have our students here, I do want to just point out, I know I mentioned athletics last time, but regarding the elementary school, I'd like to point out that there is, as you know, a lot of innovation happening. There was a invention convention at the elementary school in grade 4 recently. Jane Servideo, one of our 4th grade teachers, ran that and had some colleagues to help judge, and 7 students had their projects judged, and there was a student, James Holock, 4th grader, who won that particular contest for our school. So we're quite proud of our kids and our teachers that are encouraging kids to basically identify problems and solve them with inventions. It's really cool opportunity, and it is available and encouraged statewide, but a lot of schools don't participate, so I'm really glad we do. So there's something really awesome. I'd like to thank, we had some weather issues recently, and I'd like to thank our facilities department for the exceptional teamwork in cleaning up the storm yesterday and preparing the walkways even this morning, as it was still slippery, or it became slippery overnight. I'd like to thank the town for their communication and collaboration throughout the last few days in ensuring the roads and the parking lots of the school were clear and safe. We went on our own today, but no one complained about a delay. A lot of people were actually very thankful to ensuring that we had a safe ride. We did have recently a call that we decided not to do a delay, and we had 3 accidents that day, and we did not want to have a repeat of that. So I'm comfortable that the decision we made was the right one. Interestingly, I learned today an anonymous person paid off all lunch balances for students, $2,500, and so that was a really nice gesture. Whoever did that, we really appreciate that. In terms of state safety, school safety, as you know, we've been focused on that, and McCarthy is very passionate about that and has spearheaded a project that we're going to participate in, and that's basically all the state troopers from Troop E will have a fob that can access any school in North Stonington and 4 other surrounding towns with that single fob, gaining access when they need it to help keep everybody safe. I think it's a really nice proactive move. Hopefully will never be needed, but they'll be prepared in case we do need them. So I just wanted to report that. Also, yesterday, I sent out a survey about the central office and the superintendent to gather input so we can make, when we make any additional changes, it'll be based on data that we have. I think the survey we put out is a good one that could also be put out again in the future and to look for changes. So I think it's, we talk about how we're going to measure things, and I think this is a good way to measure how the central office is doing and people's perception of the superintendent as well. Chat, maybe you can help me on that, on the board up there. Can you minimize this screen possibly? And go to and get out of that one. All right, and you got to get to the desktop if you can. Okay, so right behind where it says Kristen's. No, okay, so no, you see to the, all right, right here, you can open this up in a moment. Yeah, but just a second. So this is, March begins, School Board Appreciation Month. And I happened to run upon this video from an old classmate of mine, Miguel Cardona. We were in the executive leadership program at UConn together in 2011 and 12. And he put this nice message together for school board members and also CABE. And I'd like to just have it play for you. Can we open that?
Thank you. I'm happy to join you today, albeit virtually. Just like school, we know there's no substitute for being with you in person. And while I can't be in Connecticut today, I'm so thankful to have a moment with you now to celebrate Board of Education Appreciation Month. And personally, thank you and acknowledge how hard you're all working for the children of Connecticut. I want to thank Patrice, Lisa, and the whole team at CABE for the great work you do. CABE has really stepped up in these last several years, and I've been fortunate to be able to work more closely with CABE. Thank you, CABE, and thank you all boards of education. What a time to be leading. You've done a great job. We say that board members are volunteers, but that couldn't be farther from the reality. Over the past few years, you've taken on heavy fire. You've faced threats, bullying, protests. You stay in the arena. You wear many hats and you roll up your sleeves to get to work for our schools and for our students. From elevating critical issues like learning recovery and mental health support, to ensuring that parents and communities get to have more of a say in their child's learning. Your efforts in and for your communities make all the difference. Thank you for all you do. I remember when I was in Connecticut as a commissioner, I worked so closely with Bob, Patrice, and so many at CABE to make sure that we safely reopen our schools. I think I saw them more than I saw my own kids during that time because we were on Zooms almost daily. And I counted on CABE as a critical partner. And I remember having conversations with our local board leaders and our board members and recognizing that your jobs changed so much too, that so much was at stake. Well, what we're focusing on now is a little bit different than reopening our schools, but the level of urgency should be just as high. We need to make sure that we're raising the bar for our students. We don't have to build the system back the way it was before. Shame on us if we do. Let's raise the bar by looking at creative ways to give our students a more rigorous and comprehensive education. Let's raise the bar by boldly improving our children's learning conditions. Now is the time to make sure we address the teacher shortage in Connecticut and across the country. And we also have to make sure we're providing mental health supports in a way that's much better than we did before. Before, we only dealt with mental health after the trauma. Let's focus on Tier 1 mental health supports for all of our students. And let's raise the bar by strengthening the pathways our students have to rewarding lives and careers. In Connecticut, there's so much energy around making sure students have career and college pathways, making sure that we're tapping them on the shoulder in middle school to let them know the careers that exist in Connecticut and beyond. We have an opportunity to reimagine what our schools look like, what our high schools look like, with micro-credentials, internships. As board members, you're at the forefront of that. You're the leaders that are going to get that done. Now's the time to transform education for the better, to build strong systems that can make sure the progress we've made outlasts us in our current positions. With leaders like you, I have complete confidence that we can do it. You led us through a pandemic, and you're going to lead us as we reimagine education and raise the bar. Thank you.
That's the end of my report for now.
Thank you, Troy. That was nice. A couple of reports for myself. It hasn't been a lot since last week. I did talk to Bob Carlson a little bit again about where does the building improvements come in? Who pays for those? How do we pay for those? He's talked to some surrounding districts. A lot of them do smaller repairs on the board side, larger repairs on the town side. So he and I are going to get together and we think we should put some kind of a policy together on that. What is that dollar amount? What does it take to trigger going to the taxpayer, going to the town side? So I'll get more information to you as that conversation unfolds. I had a really nice conversation with the director at the rec department a couple weeks ago. and just talked a little bit about their challenges, some of the things that he would like to see, met with Troy. And he and Ellen and Fabian will get together at the end of this season and start talking about things like centralized calendaring and things like that. So it was a really great conversation. And that's about all I have to report for right now. So that's going to take us up to facilities. We need to approve the January financials. If I can get a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve January financial statement.
I'll second.
All right. Any other discussion on that?
Don't we accept them? We don't approve them.
Oh, yes, yes. Can you amend your motion, please, to approve or to accept?
Oh, did I say, what did I say? I to approve them. No
No,
doubt.
we don't want to approve them. We want to accept them.
Accept them. What, okay. Why is that the new word?
I guess, yes, that's what we decided on.
Okay, well then to accept the financial, it says approval in the minutes, I mean, in the agenda, but that's
It
fine.
does. Well, it does. You're right. But we had a 45-minute conversation around the word. So I think we decided to do. So, all right, we have a motion to accept the January financials.
A second.
Any other discussion on the January financials? All right,
I'll just say Bill answered some questions I had, so then they were acceptable.
okay. Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed and abstain. Okay. The next one that we have on the agenda is the non-lapsing. I almost wonder if that should come after the budget discussion, but it doesn't really matter. If everybody has their non-lapsing report from January 2023. And then just to let everybody know, we are looking at 285,574 coming into the non-lapsing account as of the closeout for the 2022. If you add that to the balance as of the end of January is 155,940,940. That brings us up to, Bill, do you have that total? If I add they were in the January, they should have been in one of your packets. What was the number? I'm just looking at the January note. I don't know which packet it was in. I just have the most recent non-lapsing in front of me because I knew it was on the agenda. So I don't know. You all should have had it at some point. It's probably not in tonight's packet. All right. So if you add from the 11th. Okay, thank you. Do you have a calculator on you? Bill, can you add those two numbers up for me? So we just kind of have a total number, the 155,940 and the 285,574. I think it's going to put us at about 435 roughly, right? And yep, plus 285,574. I think it's going to put us at about 440. All right. All right, so that's going to give us a balance of around 441,940, 494. So a couple of things that were on that. And then I think as we just start looking at the budget, we want to start considering some things as well. The Chromebooks this year, we are purchasing out of that. We also are looking at the security cameras. Did we ever find out what those are going to cost by any chance? No.
We were this close to that, right, Bill?
All right. All right.
They did
perfect.
come out and they walked all the, the property, including the tunnel,
Okay.
in terms of your question earlier.
Okay.
We expect it to be large.
Okay. So a couple of other things that we have on the list that were needs and we'll see that in the budget as well, is the shed that we were considering. There'll be a portion, 20% of what's going to the STEEP grant that we need for the blacktop across the street. We don't know what that number looks like exactly yet. some things in there for the fence gate at the elementary school. And then door magnets, we're looking at doing those as well, right? At some point. Those are all kind of question marks. I'm just kind of going over the list with you guys right now that's
Yeah,
on
yeah,
here.
we still are
All right.
looking at that.
Is the fence gate going to be a piece of the,
The steep.
yeah, the steep, because we're gonna have to take down the fencing in order to be able to relayer the blacktop
Right.
and then replace the fencing. So
That's
does
right.
that fall into the same piece?
We could certainly, I think, look at that. It's for the, yeah, it's after the repaving. It's
Right, because they
indicated
have
as
to, yeah,
after.
so it has to be something, because they said that they would have to remove it in order to be able to complete the
Yeah,
repaving.
there is no gate there right now, so I think.
Right,
a
that's why
new
we didn't
gate.
put the gate,
Yeah,
because we're gonna
We're
have
gonna
to
have to
take
take
all
it all
that
down
fencing down
anyway.
anyway.
Right.
We figure we'd do the gate after they do the repaving.
Yep.
But I don't think the gate would be covered in the steep grant. I could be wrong about that, but we could check.
yeah, that was, we had already approved that prior.
Right.
Let's see. And then, we also have some indication of some funds for STEAM and also some innovative instruction funds as well. So just kind of
Mhm.
keep in mind, that's where we're at. We've got that 441 to work with. And also the mindset around how much do we want to look at? You know, like we talked about last week, the kind of, how much do we want to look at taking on this year with non-lapsing? How much do we want to preserve? That kind of a thing. Just kind of keep that in the back of our minds as we have our budget discussions.
Do we also have to add in there, the idea that there's gonna need to be money for the fields? We're not really sure what that looks like
Right,
or that study, but like, that should probably be on the list, right?
right, for sure.
Yeah, we also, when I presented the budget, I had a slide on non-lapsing and I added some potential projects to it.
Yes.
One of which is pretty significant, called the maintenance shed, which we'd like to build between the two schools. Just with this snowstorm here, they had to prepare by moving all of the equipment across the road and then chaining it up outside. And, you know, now that the part of this building is down, there's a little tiny shed all by itself out there, which is not big enough. So really the timing is right to build, and we're working on getting some quotes for that. To build a maintenance shed, but I think the cost of that is gonna be significant. And you could use non-lapsing.
I hope that the playground items are still on there as well.
Yeah, it is. And it's on his slide as well.
Okay.
Mhm.
Can I just also add, this is just a comment. This number is alarmingly large. And, I think the slide that you have is going to be really important to kind of give us or give everybody an idea of that we have a plan. And maybe even some rough estimates, I think will be really, really helpful.
Yeah, hopefully by then we'll have some rough estimates on multiple projects.
And I don't know on the sheds, I know we need to build one, but I also know you can get them like pre-made, like, is that something we'd ever, no, I'm not talking about a Home Depot shed. I'm talking about like companies that pre-make them and bring them. Right. Oh, yes.
Yeah, I think we need to maybe have we could have that on a future agenda and give you some of like what the options are. And some plans for that. I think we're looking at, we don't want to go too small. And, you know, the maintenance department doesn't really have a workshop area right now. So it might be that it, you know, it needs electricity, you know.
Right.
That type of thing.
Okay.
Make sure you have a security camera there too.
And that's nothing we could do on this side though, as a building to use. We have to do it on that side.
It would be more useful on that
Useful.
side. Let's see. And then did we get the roof repaired already, right? We did that?
Yeah, the flashing part on the middle school, high school has been repaired. We did have a significant rain after that, but it wasn't a wind driving rain. So we're still keeping our fingers crossed. It didn't leak when it rained. So time will tell. And the bird damage at the elementary school, we're still working on how to handle that.
Okay. Do we have any idea what that's gonna cost?
Bill, do you recall anything about that yet? No, I don't think we have a figure.
Okay.
On
Some
the,
ductwork.
the ductwork, on the elementary school roof has been damaged by birds significantly. They poke holes in it. It seems as though they're like dropping nuts or other food on it, and then they come and try to pick it up, and their beak goes into the insulation. Or maybe they take an insulation for nesting elsewhere. We're not quite sure. But there's, actually, I can show you pictures, maybe at a future meeting. Randy took several pictures and it's quite, I was quite surprised about how much damage there actually is. Seagulls, looks like seagulls, and crows mostly.
Thank you. And then we did talk about at one of our meetings too, putting up stuff to prevent them from doing that in the future, right? Yeah.
We're looking at, options like netting.
Mm-hmm. We did. We talked about the damage, and then we also mentioned that obviously we're gonna have to do something to keep it from happening. We're not just gonna fix it and let it keep on going. It wasn't like a long conversation. It was.
I don't remember the first time.
Is it on my slide for non-lapsing?
It is on the.
I
on
think I
the
threw it on there.
expenditures, Yeah.
This one?
On the presentation from February 8th,
With bird damage?
ductwork roof damage from birds at the elementary school.
I don't know if it was just within the slide.
Next time I'll add a picture of some seagulls.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so, Bill says Norwich Public Schools is having the same issue on one of their buildings with bird damage.
Thank you. All right, so let's go ahead and do you have anything you want to update with the budget?
Yeah, I would like to actually throw a presentation up there and show you, the results of some administrative work. You asked us to, you didn't say to cut it to a certain point or anything, but you did ask us to prioritize and tell you what we think's most important. And I think this presentation would probably help show that best, and I don't think it would take long. Now, there is a presentation, if we just open it. Thank you. Okay, so this is the presentation or part of the presentation that we used last time. And so we're going to just go through quickly. I'm going to show you some of the options we're providing you tonight for some changes. Okay. First of all, we have these three goals. This budget will hopefully help us meet these goals. We talked about collaboration with the town. That's the same. Okay, so now we're going to be looking at some changes. We had a lot of discussion around the PE dean position, and in your packet, you do actually have job description for it because you've been asking for that. You also have a job description for the curriculum coordinator and the lead teacher in there. And these are just drafts, okay? But we did provide those because you were asking for them. But we did a lot of thinking and we did a lot of listening to some of what your comments were as well. And it kind of forced us to think, I think, both efficiently and with innovation. And we think that we could eliminate that from the budget and look to handle the issue in other ways. The issue being increasing physical fitness. But some of the ways provide additional recess. And integrate more movement into classes. And we do have some teacher leaders who are working or have their O92. And maybe there's some way to tap them to assist in some type of either formal or informal internship. And give them the experience and hopefully get the needs met. Now, I'm saying that now, but know that most elementary schools, I believe that are over 400 students, and we're just over 400 students. If you look at it, I think you'd see that most of them have an assistant principal, full-time assistant principal. Okay, right now we have an outstanding elementary school principal who's willing to take on like everything. Okay, and I think we're very, very fortunate to have Mr. Salino at the helm of this elementary school. So we think that we can meet those needs in an additional way. That would take 55,000 out of the original proposed budget. Remember, that was 6.7, right? Now we have additional things that we think we could trim. One is we think that we could cut 10% off the supplies line across the board without cutting any specific supply line to zero, because then you're at the point where now you're gonna have a huge increase if you add something back the next year. But we think we can shop around. Bill is very confident he could spend lots of time on the phone with vendors and negotiating and find the best deal around and save us 10% on supplies and still get everything we need.
The audience
We just shop
can't
around.
see The.
Regarding
screens.
Wheeler,
Go on.
again, 10% off instructional supplies across the board. Yeah.
Do that one. Yeah. Do,
Is there a dollar amount to that 10%? Just my own.
Alice Mullane couldn't see it. She's on Zoom as well. I'm sure.
Is there a dollar amount on the 10%?
A total savings on instructional supplies, yes. I'm thinking it was 44,000. I have the slide. I have a slide at the end that shows the savings on each of these items. So
Yes, much better. Go ahead.
we're good now? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so yeah, a slide at the end that summarizes all the potential savings. All right, could you just advance this slide for me, maybe? Powerful.
I don't know why we.
No, it's not. No, it's loud. Oh, no, no. Okay, yeah, no, this is right. Okay, so what happens here? All right, so priority, a social worker is a priority. Okay, this is it. We all agreed on all of this, okay, that I'm presenting tonight. The social worker is a priority. You heard Miguel Cardona, right? Commissioner of Education, right? Talk about the need to be proactive in addressing mental health needs. Okay, we believe that. We currently have one social worker in districts. We should have three based on the numbers and the criteria of how many a caseload social workers should have 250 kids, like not on their caseload, but just in the student body. Okay, we have like triple that. We should have 3 social workers. We have 1. She sees about 80 kids every week, or attempts to see 80 kids every week. When there's a crisis, she doesn't see some of those kids, and some of those kids have IEPs or 504s plans that require legally that we give them that service every week. And sometimes we're not meeting our legal obligations to kids because she's pulled. So it's not a sustainable situation. Okay, and I can't, express the urgency enough about that. Okay, we've been very fortunate that we haven't had a tragedy. We need to be proactive in meeting mental health needs. The social worker is a priority for every single administrator and central office person who's been working on this. So that's a priority. We cannot meet student needs, and and needs that we have to legally meet without an additional social worker. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Yeah, all right. So by the way, yeah, and the special ed teacher and additional paraprofessional to support the alternative education program, which we also believe is a high priority. We need to make that happen. Okay, so we do want those. Those will remain. Okay, let's go to the next.
Wait, can I go back to that one? So since we're in this screen, that was one part of the budget which I really do not even want to touch with the paraprofessionals or in that main department. And like you're saying now, I think that's such an increase that we need right now.
And the
Even with the salary
paraprofessionals are a
paraprofessionals-
contract.
Yep. All right, so
So we don't have the leverage to touch it per se. Once the contract is finalized, it's going to be finalized.
all right, so more with special ed then, because we were, and I wasn't here last week, so I'm sorry, I did miss
That's
it.
okay.
I know prior to that, we talked about special ed and extra help in that department though. So hopefully we don't have to touch or go down with salaries and stuff like that. I know you wanted to increase the salaries. So hopefully that's what we're gonna continue
we
with the
do.
increasement.
Yep, we
Yep.
do. Want to increase the salaries, and you can see that, you know, we're not paid as much as a lot of the surrounding towns, and by far. The paras, underpaid. And we hope to fix that. We're in negotiations currently.
And are you still looking to add, so we have how many paras for the kindergartners right now?
So we're still looking to add
3.
two, to having 3 total. Because one is going to be paid through the
grant.
ESSER 3 grant
Okay.
for next year. And we'll have 2 in the regular ed budget if this gets approved,
Okay, thank you.
which means that when the grant runs out, we'll be down to 2
Right,
from 3,
right.
right? But, you know,
But we can
there's the
assess
whole
if that's
science of
right.
reading going on. It's not just behavior. Okay, it's like instructional models now too. We're having a second adult in the classroom is going to be really helpful to implement what is considered the best instruction now, like in reading. And the elementary school is doing a lot of work in the professional development on that right now. So those kindergarten or elementary school paras are very important. They're not necessarily going to be just in kindergarten. They're going to be where they're needed most. And that can change, right?
Yep.
Okay, let's go to the next.
Right. Excuse me. Excuse me. When will the grant run out for the para? For the one para,
After one more year.
One more
one
year.
more year? Okay, so we'll get that through the next fiscal year.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
We do have, a diverse student body in terms of needs and identified needs, and we have to meet all those needs. 24% of our students have, some type of special needs. Like I said, the social worker is missing some of these kids at times, especially when she's responding to a crisis, and those crises do happen. All right, let's go to the next one. We've seen this enrollment, it's the same. Let's go to the next one. Just a reminder about what the challenges are. There's still all the same challenges we have. We just think that we can meet some of them a little differently. Let's go to the next slide. All right, and then, so we showed this slide last time, and the budget we were presenting was 6.7, which is lower than these 3 other local towns over 2 years. Remember, we combined what they got adopted budget last year with what the superintendent's initial proposal was. Now we hear the East Lyme is actually going to go higher
Yeah.
than this, right?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to go lower tonight.
Good.
Okay, hit the forward arrow one more time and just wait, see, and then one more time. And see the bar went down. Okay, so we're proposing with changes tonight brings us from 6.7 to 5.4. Okay, and when we'll look at a slide later, 1.3 is the increased tuition revenue, not the total, the increased. Okay, so when you subtract 1.3 from 5.4, you get 4.1. Right? I thought I presented a pretty good bargain last time. This is incredible. Okay, but let's go on and look at the rest of the details. All right, so if we do, hit the forward arrow one more time, that bottom number change to 5.4. Okay, then one again, and then the average increase over the last 10 years would be 1.9 if a 4.4 gets adopted. Okay, just interesting statistic. Let's go to the next slide. This we've seen before. We didn't add, I know there was a question about, oh, why don't we add the dean in here? Well, we didn't do it because we're kind of pulling it out now. But you can see, even if we did, we'd still be lower than these towns because that was going to be a teacher salary. Next slide. Okay, so here's, we had the budget addition slide. Here's, you can see where we made significant changes. So the PE elementary dean's out. And then I think we had talked about this last time, about maybe taking some of the innovative instruction PD out, cutting in half and keeping half in the budget. And maybe if you wanted, you could spend non-lapsing for the other half. Okay, so that's a possibility. So there's two changes there, but we have some other changes too. I want to show you where Bill really looked hard at the budget and found some other areas that we trimmed to get it down. Okay, let's take another, to go to the next slide. Okay, so this is it. This is the bottom line. So instructional supplies reduced by 10% across the board. Oh, it's 46,000. Okay, I was, remember 44, it's 46. Elementary dean PE 55. We think sports transportation, we can reduce to almost 13,000 to bring it to what it was last year. We think we can get by with that. We were anticipating increased costs, but I think if we're going to trim somewhere, I think we'll be okay. And Bill has a lot of experience. He thinks we can be okay with this. Reduce the instructional, innovative instruction PD by 50%. So take 14,000 out. Workshops, overall workshops reduced by 10,500. That can kind of really piggyback with the instructional, innovative instruction, because we've used a lot of that for workshops too. So we kind of had workshops in more than one place. So we're looking at that. All right, for efficiencies, let's just cut down the workshop line because we're going to be sending more people to innovative instructional type workshops. So, but there might be other workshops still we got to do. The negotiation line, we think we could safely reduce by 28,000 right now. We had put a lot in there because it also includes legal fees for negotiations. I'm hopeful that the administrators will negotiate next year quickly and without a lot of legal fees for their contract. So I'm kind of counting on that. If that doesn't happen, we're going to have to find the money somewhere, but I have a feeling that we all collaborate really well. We're going to be able to figure that out very quickly. And then we didn't count right. We made an error in the count of paraprofessionals. We counted that we had one more than we needed. So it's not a cut from like a real cut. It's just like we counted wrong and we realized we counted wrong. So we're taking a para out of the budget because we want to make it right. So now the count's right. And the total is 190,285. Okay, was 6.7. You take that off of the 6.7, we're down to 5.4. You take the $190,345 of additional tuition money, which is 1.3, subtract it from the 5.4, you're down to 4.1.
And what's the total tuition we're bringing in each year? I know we keep talking about the additional, but I'm more curious about what our total is. Do you know?
Do you know the total? It's just over 300, I think, Bill.
Yeah, I thought it was around 300,000.
I know
I don't know the
we
exact
can't
number
offset
off
our
the top of
budget
my
with it.
head.
I understand that, but it is a big number that we
Yeah.
are bringing to the town.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
So the 190 is just the increase over last year, over this current year. Because remember, you all raised the tuition rate, right? And we're going to have some more students.
So
Can
we
you go back? Can you back to the previous slide? Quick question on the woodshop supplies, co-op sports supplies. Are those essentially one-offs on those additions? Or sustaining?
Are we gonna need that year after year, do you think?
I can speak to that. For co-op sports, obviously you heard Ellen's presentation and that we are increasing, having kids join teams, and some of that we talk about football equipment is costly and we have yet to add anything to our budget. It might go down a little bit and fluctuate, but I don't think it will come out completely, but it could certainly vary, depending on what sports are happening.
My thought is, like, if it's football, you buy it once and it's good for like multiple years. So that wood shop, since you're getting that retooled to start up again, why not put that in non-lapsing? That's what I had in my notes. And
But-
then innovative instruction, I would put all of it, since it's a unique program, we're just starting out. I would put that on non-lapsing. So that may save you about, I don't know, about 40-something thousand, 41,000.
But Alex, I will say one point to make with regard to football equipment. The pads and the helmets have to go out and be recertified and reconditioned every year. They cannot be used in games. And that.
Yes. Yep. I was just gonna say that, Chet. Thank you. And ice hockey equipment as well. It all goes through certain rules and requirements for regulations. But, as we increase these sports, we have to start thinking about having some of this stuff. But I think it will change frequently, but it might not be a bad idea to start in the non-lapsing just to kind of monitor it and see what it does.
Well, I'm good with that. That's my question, my comments on that. So I think there's some opportunity to move some of that.
All right, thanks, Alex.
Just to summarize here, and I just really stated this, we're down to a 5.4% increase. Actually, no, the slide, let's not even look at the slide. It looks like it's not quite updated. We didn't quite update that slide. But yeah, we're down to really a net 4.1 when you consider the increased tuition revenue. Okay, so the budget, it's at 5.4. Alex just talked about some ideas that would get it down further if you wanted to do that. But I think 5.4 is very reasonable in this year where we are. And it still, we believe, will meet our needs well. Focusing on efficiencies and innovative ideas. And the administration is 100% behind doing this. If you want to keep it at 6.7, that's up to you. Whatever you want to adopt for a Board of Ed budget. I hope you adopt a Board of Ed budget tonight, whatever it's going to be, because the building principals and I are planning on producing a Zoom presentation on the Board of Ed budget on Friday morning, and hopefully getting it out everywhere so people can see it. And it wouldn't be like in a meeting like this. It'll be very clear. It's just Zoom so people could hear and see, and us explaining what's in the budget. And then we're going to hold a forum on next Wednesday at 3:30. And Bill and I are going to be here. We may show that presentation during that time and answer questions. And that's where we're at now for that, but time is getting to be short to figure it all out. So I think we're probably pretty close.
I think it's great what you guys did. I can't see the 6.7, but the 5.4 is more reasonable. And knowing that actually it's a 4.1 with the additional tuition, I think is a little more acceptable going forward. So we'll hope it goes, we can all agree on that.
Thanks, Bill. My only ask would be that if we're going to talk about the tuition, that we talk about the entire amount that we're bringing into the town, not the increase, because we're bringing an entire amount in. I think the 300,000 is a number that needs to be heard. That is almost 2%, over 2% of our budget.
When the town votes on it, who decides what's the wording is on the vote paper itself, how it's worded?
I don't know. It's
Well, if we're
legal.
not, if we have
We
to
can't
show,
use the tuition in the budget.
I did see something interesting last night, though. At the Board of Selectmen meeting, they advanced their budget to the Board of Finance and including the increased revenue from us, which is about 300,000, right? There's an increased revenue to the town of $600,000. The Board of Selectmen roughly soaked up with their budget 300,000 of that, leaving an increased revenue to the town still of $300,000. And it sort of fits here, right? Because that's what we brought in. And so while we're not saying that's our money, effectively that's left there. And we did generate that income. So I think that it's a good fit and the timing is really, really good. So I think that's really positive. Troy, this is like really good work. Really, really good work.
Yeah. Thank you.
I love the student services slide. And I would just like to make sure that if we're going to cut some of this stuff out, so if we're going to cut that dean position and the PE position, I'd really like to make sure that we revisit it and critically evaluate it in a year. I think this is a great middle step to see like, okay, can we address this problem in a different way? But if we can't, I think we really need to talk about that as a board. But I loved this idea as an intermediate step. I hope that during the presentation on Zoom and the forum, that Allison really speaks about that alternative education program and why we need it and what it can bring here, and not just in dollars. And I know that she's hesitant to talk about dollars because it's sort of imagined now. But I hope that she talks about why it's such a benefit to our students in our town. I would like to know though, is there a plan in place for us to know if it's working? How are we going to do that measure? And when can we expect to see if we're hitting those benchmarks or measures or whatever the plan is?
Yeah, I think we can come up with a plan to report on how it's going in the progress, like concerning like the social worker specifically and the alternative ed
In
program.
general, if you can identify like what will be the measures, how we know if
Yeah.
that's making a difference. So it doesn't look like you're just throwing darts at a dartboard.
Right.
So there's a problem and you think this is the way to address it. How will we know if it's working and when will we know? Because we'll want to make adjustments, I imagine. And given that it's a new thing and an investment, I think it's great that we continue to talk about it through the next year.
Yeah, no, I think we can come up with what the measurements would be.
Referring to the adult ed program more so than the social worker. We kind of know what the social worker.
I just mean that entire program together. So for example, we need the social worker because our numbers are high and we're seeing some problems with our kids. With that additional social worker, are we going to see some decreased behavioral issues in the class? Just the program as a whole. We identify the problem. How do we identify if we're meeting the problem with that solution? And I'm with Alex. Because it's new, because we've never done it before, I'm with Alex in terms of moving those wood shop supplies, the co-op sports supplies, and the innovative instruction supplies into our non-lapsing for this year. And let's just see how that goes. I feel like it's a comfortable trade-off and use of that money for this year. Thank you again.
One thing on the PE that I'd like us to consider too, since we are pulling it out, which I appreciate you doing that to kind of reevaluate, is there's been, for years, we've been talking about after school program and how can we bring that and what, because I think you can tie physical fitness into after school. It doesn't have to just be an extra period during the day. I was looking a little bit at, I know the YMCA brings programs to districts. There's other things. So I'm just wondering if for more of a long-term vision, just having some kind of an intramural after school type program probably is going to increase physical fitness and help parents and everything else as well. So just something for us to kind of consider.
Mhm.
Right,
how we could work together to solve that problem.
right. I just definitely think we have a need for it here in town, and I definitely would also help on the physical fitness side at the same time, because you really want children to start integrating physical fitness into their day to day so that they do it as a lifestyle,
Right.
not just a forced curriculum 2 or 3 times a week. So.
Yeah, I like to echo that and add something in before classes start also as an option. I actually love to see a kind of an overall plan on how you're going to address it through working with the rec. I think as Christine mentioned, through the Y or whatever program we set up, it'd be nice to kind of put this on paper to say, hey, this is how we're going to get better on that physical fitness part for those kids.
I've had some real luck in the past creating after-school programming. But I think one of the keys is you got to make it free. You
Well,
make it free for
I think
families.
that's one option, but I'd also look at if there's a small fee for that, then what would that be? If that makes any sense.
There is a whole nother set of work required when you collecting fees. That's why I don't believe in a fee for play in sports. Yeah, and that's not the only reason, but I think there's certain things that if we can offer our families and our kids, we should do it. I would like to see it be for free. And I think it would increase the chance of it being successful.
Troy, given that it's innovative and new and isn't in our budget now, perhaps that's an opportunity for someone to develop a program and write a grant request to the Education Foundation.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there could be other funding sources.
So I'm a hugely in favor of the idea of before and after school care. I think that it's something that we lack in town here, and that would be a great way to address some of this PE in terms of our overall scores. I looked at some of the numbers, and it seems like it's really distance running and upper body strength that our kids are struggling on. And I think that, those types of things are things that can happen just from having kids running around more, especially because that was probably our lowest score over the past couple of years, was within that aspect of our 1 mile run and that piece of it. I'm fully on board with the idea of moving the sports cost, the woodshop cost, and the innovative PD over to non-lapsing. I think that the idea of putting it in non-lapsing for that PD for innovative instruction is nice as well, because it means we can look at it and say, we're not just guessing. This might be what people are going to use as teachers or administrators or whoever is coming and saying, we would like to do this sort of a conference, or we want to do this training, or whatever it might be. We can approve as needed, and it doesn't necessarily just take up a chunk of money that perhaps next year there's going to be opportunity to use 15,000 of 28, or perhaps next year there's going to be opportunity to use 30,000 of 20. Like, it ends up with, we have this money, we can give it, when those opportunities arise. I think that's wonderful. I think it's important to also remind people that are, if we were to have any singular sports program for these co-op sports that we're funding with this $8 grand, it would cost us more money simply in busing, referees, and coaching to run a single sport. And instead, Ellen is doing an amazing job of allowing our kids access to all of these different sports. And that 8,000 is something that I think that we can easily move to non-lapsing fund and continue doing in the future. I'm wondering, because you talk about the idea of our overall increase over time, I would just be curious, and I don't know, maybe this is only me, but comparing to the rate of inflation over that same 10-year period, we're only getting 1.9% total, I think it was. Seeing how much the cost of everything else is going up. And I know sometimes that backfires, because then we have taxpayers who look at it and say, well, I'm also burdened with all of those increases in cost of inflation. But I think it's impressive the way that our budget over time has maintained, even though it's not even keeping up with the cost of general things happening within the world. Yeah, I think that kind of covers what I wanted to say. Sorry, Kristen has her hand up, so I'm.
All right, Kristen.
Yeah, I just wanted to say it might be worth reaching out to Kids and Company. I know about 4 or 5 years ago, she had asked about possibly running a school age program in our facilities in the morning and afternoon. Obviously I say it because it gets run by that company versus people in the school trying to run and operate it. You could decide to, charge a facilities fee, or you could just work with them knowing that it's a service to our parents. But I have to tell you, I sit on a daycare board in my town. It is the biggest revenue maker for the daycare in this town. I think there are parents who are begging for it. And I just know Christine Hare can't accommodate it at her place, but probably could do so if it was in the school.
Thank
There,
you.
there was an issue that I know came up previously regarding the facilities and the way that they need to get facilities approved for daycare processes versus schools, because I know that it came up in the Preston.
Yep, you have to get it licensed through early childhood, but it's really in a school system not as difficult to do if you have the facility, especially a newly renovated one. But yes, you have to work with the state, but Christine has to do that anyway through her work with Kids & Co. So she's very familiar with it.
And of course, we do want to be just mindful of the fact that there is going to be a facility opening right in this building that will provide those services as well. So I'm not sure as a school if we want to.
Well, I think we
get
need to
involved in
do, we
that
would
or-
do a full ad hoc on it. We'd need to do a lot
Yeah,
of research
for
on it.
sure.
And I would, again, Troy has said he's done this, so I would leave it somewhat to the experts on that. But I definitely think if it's something we want to pursue, which it sounds like it is, we should move down that avenue.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting that daycare be free. Okay. What I'm suggesting is some after-school activities that include
Activities.
improve fitness be free to encourage participation.
Right. And that's what we're looking at is activities, not a daycare type setting. At least that's my vision for it. Everybody else's vision could be different, and that's why we need to do the work on that. One thing, so a couple of things. You don't have your computer with you, Bill. Are you able to, if we're pulling some things out and moving some things around, get us updated numbers? If we're going to approve a budget tonight, we'd need an exact number. Are you able to get that? Okay, thank you. And then we also had talked about Sure. Okay, thank you. I had asked about the stipends positions. Did they look at that to see if any of those stipends positions weren't actually being filled?
Yeah, we believe most are.
Okay,
There was one in the elementary school called Google Coach
okay.
that was not filled.
I think that gets tricky though, because I do believe we have to fund based on the contract and not on
Yeah.
the use.
Right, right. But
So
It just would be, I just wanted
if
to
I could
know.
just-
Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I
Troy.
could just, one of the things in terms of not having the dean position that the administrative team talked about, and we would have to have a memorandum of understanding, probably with the teachers union, because it's in their contract. But there might be a stipend like Google Coach that is no longer needed because we're not in a pandemic anymore. And if it's not, maybe we can allocate those funds toward like an internship type thing. For the administration to help out because there's no assistant principal. So we began to look at that option, but realizing we have to talk to the teachers union
Right.
if we want to pursue that. I think that's about the only stipend that is not being used currently. But we could look through again, but we did look through and that's what we
Okay,
identified.
all right, perfect. And then I think the other thing that we want to be considering is if we move the innovative instruction piece over to non-lapsing, we need to maybe determine a dollar amount so that Troy doesn't have to get approval every single time he wants to use some of that to do something with professional development or sending somebody off. So we might want to, if that's the direction we go, put some kind of language in around giving him some leverage with that dollar amount. And then the other thing would be, I think what we would also like to do before we present to the Board of Finance is have another finance committee meeting and get some numbers attached to these items that are listed for the non-lapsing account. So that we can be really clear. And we can definitely state that they're not solid. We haven't gone out to bid for the shed, things like that, but I think we want to be really clear on what some of those numbers look like. Otherwise, there's just going to be this, you have 400,000, you have 400,000, you have 400,000, and they're not going to understand that a lot of it's already accounted for. All right. So, is everybody comfortable with that on the non-lapsing? If we would maybe do I'm thinking next Wednesday, we'll do a finance committee meeting. We can do it by Zoom, just like we did before the Board of Finance meeting.
Okay. I wanted to comment that, I'm very excited about this budget. I think it's great. I love what you did with it. I'm also 100% in favor of, moving the innovative instruction and, the workshops over to the non-lapsing. I'm a little concerned about the sports transportation being reduced by 12.9. Particularly because we have all those, the sports programs outside of our school. And I wonder, since we're going to move the innovative instruction and all that over to the non-lapsing, we not reduce the sports transportation. And I also wanted to comment on the intramural sports and after-school activities idea, because it would be new and innovative for us. And although it would be free for parents, there would be a cost to us for it because it's new. I wonder if the cost of that could also come out of, because it's kind of a pilot thing, right?
Which
that also-
one?
The intramural sports or after-school activities thing, the program that we may have planned. Could that also come out of the non-lapsing
Well,
account?
we aren't budgeting for it right now, so it would have to if we moved forward with that.
Okay, gotcha. Oh, all right.
And then the other thing is, I think, we kind of left it up to them to know what their expenses are for transportation on sports. There were some pretty big increases indicated in the first budget round. So I'm assuming you guys reviewed that and felt comfortable with that number.
Did you feel comfortable with that number?
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
We feel like it's 12,000, hopefully we're probably going to spend all that we budgeted this year. But we're hopeful that, and if we had to, and we could, if we found it somewhere else, if we needed to cover, maybe we could do that, it's not like it's a $40,000 item,
Okay.
we're just looking to figure out where we could trim to get the number down that is maybe what people would perceive as a more reasonable number.
Okay, and
We don't know where else we would cut, really.
and one other comment regarding the community forum. So who is going to present at the community forum? Is it just you and Bill that are going to be here and you're going to show the presentation and have questions and answer? What is that going to look like?
We're not quite sure yet because we haven't put the presentation together. We're going to be working really hard tomorrow to figure out what the presentation is going to be, hopefully, and then tape it like at 8 o'clock on Friday morning is our plan. And then it's kind of got to evolve. We don't really know where it's going to take us, but the plan was to at minimum, Bill and I would be here to answer questions during the forum. Maybe we would show it, maybe we would just talk about it, depending maybe who comes. We don't know if anybody's even gonna come. So I
Okay.
think a lot of it's just kind of play it by ear. Step by step.
I'd be willing to help with getting the word out, or you're gonna have to email.
We have a
parents, or-
flyer that we're gonna put out. I guess we'll probably get it out tomorrow.
Okay, because I think that is
but-
that's key. It's just key
Yeah,
to keep talking about this, so people can understand what the percentage increase is. And I feel like if they have a deep understanding of it, it's easier to support. It's easy to support and easier to support an increase that you understand and know the justification for it.
Yep. Thanks.
I would also ask that during that presentation, and if people want to hear a budget presentation, they're gonna hear it at the Board of Finance. So I would ask that you really focus on the programmatic stuff when you're talking to the community in this sort of a setting. I think talking about the addition of the wood shop, and it's not just like what I used to do in high school and shop class, that there's a real vision for it, the things that it changes, this alternative education center idea, all of this. I think it's really, it's the programmatic stuff and what's going to add to students' overall education. I think that's going to mean something. I know you have to talk about the money, but I think that this should really be talking about all of these amazing things and your goals for the district. I think it really means something to parents. So I'm really excited about that. I do have, in looking at the budget schedule, one concern that Christine, I don't know if maybe you want to bring up to Bob Carlson. I noticed that the day of the budget hearing, so that's like the first day that the Board of Finance and you present to the town. And then after that, right, the Board of Finance hears comments and then they decide on additional things that they might want to see cut. It's the Monday after April vacation. And my concern is that for parents who we need to have in that audience that night, because we need the feedback to be, we support this budget the way it is. And coming off of April vacation, it will be every parent's first day with their kids back to school, and back to a regular routine, whether or not they went away on vacation or not. That day looks a little different. It might be really exhausting. And I want to make sure that we are giving parents the best opportunity we can to get them there, even if it was on a Tuesday instead of that Monday. I think it positions us better. And I just want to make sure that we have an opportunity to have our supporters in the room as well.
I can ask. They're very rigid about their
I know the schedule
calendar.
is the real
This
thing.
schedule's a big deal because it all backs up days for the actual vote.
But I think just
But the
one
hearing shouldn't make a difference.
one day for
because-
the hearing.
Yeah, and the other thing is to make sure that parents know they can Zoom on
Right.
as well.
It could
So,
easily be forgotten, right? Like if you
Right.
just got, especially a family with little kids. I mean, that's a chaotic day.
right. I'll make a note of that. I just gotta find my agenda. I lost it in here somewhere. Where did I put no, I have notes on my other one. I have it here. I'll make that. Any other discussion?
Yeah.
Jamie?
Can I add a couple of comments? So first off, I really like the new idea with the PE/Dean of Students. I think that's great. I think adding more recess is key, and I think it's a easier way for us to kind of boost that. And certainly I support, and I really hope we get this conversation going maybe in this year of getting that after school intramural or whatever, because we've talked about this in multiple subcommittees many, many times. And I think we're at the position where we could really dive into this. But I don't mean to be a pain, but could you point to me where the playground mulch is in this budget as a line item? Maybe I missed it because I was looking very
So if
quickly.
you go on to the supporting pages in the back,
Yep,
you should find a playground mulch on one of those. Let me see if I have.
I saw
Did
Did
playground,
we not include that one this
It's in
time?
there.
I saw playground repair,
It's in there.
but I could have missed it.
I didn't actually see it this time. I'm remembering last time.
Last time's definitely.
It
Yeah,
was,
last time was definitely there.
yes, but I seem to not find it.
We
this
we
time.
didn't intend to make it disappear. Promise, Jamie.
It's okay. That's why I'm
It's,
here.
it's under the maintenance, building and ground expenses, athletic and school ground maintenance supplies, mulch for elementary playground, $5,000.
But where,
It's on the attached detail. It's not gonna be on this format. Remember
Yes.
Last time, it's on this attached detail.
are you in this packet that we just were handed back, or was that a previous packet? I guess is,
I'm not in this one, I guess. This one doesn't have that attached. Let's see. That page might be missing.
I see maintenance, I see the description, but
I think this is this one's
Maybe
missing.
they were missing a,
It's missing a couple of
It's missing-
pages.
yeah.
Yeah, so there's two more pages. If you look at the last one we were given, the numbers shouldn't have changed there.
okay,
This is only page one of it. There's
Okay.
3 pages. So it's on the third page under the athletic and school grounds maintenance.
Okay,
And if you
I'm-
add those up,
Well,
it should match to a line item on your main
We'll
budget.
make sure that page gets
Yeah. 'cause
put
you need
back in the packet.
Page 2 and 3.
It's missing right now.
Yeah, and if you look at the line items add up to. Find it.
Yeah, we did add, on the budget chart itself, we did add, little asterisk after certain lines, like the extra duty coaching stipend one, which indicates there is a detailed sheet attached, to make it easier. But I guess we just didn't attach all the detailed sheets.
no, that's okay. I actually really like the asterisk. I think it gives us more information and I think it's really clear as long
Yeah.
as the pages are there. I'm just here to
Yeah.
double check to
Okay,
make sure
well,
that that's
I
there.
appreciate your, observance and attention to
At
detail.
midnight after our last meeting, they went and they pulled
They
that
pulled
mulch
it.
out.
I think
It was in the wee hours of the night and they said, get that out.
We could say that was a test and you passed, Jamie.
Oh, great. I did read it very quickly. And then the only other comment is is it possible for those of us who are not on the financial committee to also sit in on the non-lapsing?
Would you rather we just do it as a special Board of Ed meeting? So that everybody can weigh in on that? I think
it's
everybody's got a vested
important.
interest at this point, so we could do that. If we could do it at 5:30. The Board of Finance meets at 7. So if we want this room, we'd need to do it at 5:30. Otherwise, we can do it by Zoom, but we need to be at the Board of Finance for 7 o'clock. So,
Can we Zoom it at 5:30?
yeah, I just don't know then if it gets me enough time to drive. Well, yeah, I could Zoom it from here and then I'll be here for 7 o'clock.
Right.
That should be fine.
Yeah.
We just want to be wrapped up so that we can be here for the Board of
For
Finance.
sure, that's gonna be really important.
Yeah. So we'll do Zoom hybrid. So if you want to Zoom in, that's fine. Or if you want to be here in this room, I should be able to get it for 5:30. If not, we can probably get this back room. Yes. Then midnight. That's it. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, it is.
I'm interested in Bill's calculation. I have a feeling if you put all that in non-lapsing, you might be under. You might be really close to 4. Maybe a tad under when you can not really, no, when you consider the tuition, the increase in tuition. Right.
I know, but so I think we need to get on the same page. Are we going to keep just talking about the increase in tuition? Or are we going to talk about the overall amount that we're bringing in for tuition?
I'm gonna talk about
You
the
absolutely have to talk about the
increase
revenue.
revenue to the
Talk about
town.
the total revenue.
$300,000.
I think you talk about the 300,000, but you also talk
So-
about how it's increased
Okay.
this year
So,
and you're anticipating increases in the years.
Yeah,
to
we
come.
want to hit the 300, because we're bringing in 300,000, not 190.
Right.
okay, so when we say we're looking for a 700 something thousand of dollars, not increase, but we're just looking for $785,000. Well, it's gonna be a little less, maybe, if you put some non-lapsing. And we can say of that, 300 and something is from tuition revenue, because we're working really hard for you.
And you can mention then 190,000 new, but we need to hit that 300,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's why
So
we have to
maybe,
s-
maybe
have
we
to s-
don't talk
right,
about the percent so much, we talk about the actual number of dollars.
the dollar number.
And
We have
then
to
we're
talk
at
about
$0.75 of a mil as opposed to crazy numbers on mil. So I mean,
I think-
Yeah, but we're not going to get into mill because.
no,
they-
I'm just saying, when I'm looking at this right now, that with the way that they have it broken down, though, that like that's
they
a
have-
more palatable thing
The
to.
overall impact to the taxpayer, I think, looks much more
Yeah.
reasonable.
Yes. If you're okay with that, if you're more
Yeah.
comfortable with the 190, all right.
No, I think that's good. I just wanted to figure out how, because usually when we say the percent, we're talking about the percent increase. But if we just talk about dollars, it makes sense to
Right.
talk about the whole 3.
Well, and it will be, we can
Yeah.
still put it in a percent. It'll be about
Yeah.
2.1% or something like
Yeah,
that
right.
roughly. So. Are you ready,
Yeah, we
Bill?
could definitely do that.
So we are removing the innovative instruction completely and putting that into non-lapsing. What number, how much was that? So yeah, so that's that line item where you can take it down to 1,000, you said, not to zero it out. And so you're gonna take 27,000 total off of that. Pardon? Pardon? All right, so take it down to 1. All right, and then the co-op sports, take it down to 1, and the wood shop, take it down to 1. Okay. Well, what, I don't know what lines are they in? I mean, where did you take it from before?
Another 14 plus the 8 plus the 5, so 27,000.
Oh, that's lovely. 3.93. That's not right.
Not kind of.
No, you can't count the revenue, right? What our overall impact increases. Doesn't see. I could get it to like 4.9. It would. Right. Right. All right, go ahead.
But what's the percent without, so
5.2.
5.2 is our total increase? Okay.
So I'd like to make a motion to push to put forward the budget of a 5.2% increase, including adjustments made this evening.
Second.
Any,
I think I'd like to see a dollar amount also, just to be clearer.
yep. 15,288,275.
So I make a motion to put forward a budget of $15,288,275, approximate increase of 5.2%.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor of approving the superintendent's budget?
Aye.
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 Opposed and abstain. Budget passes with the Board of Ed.
Okay, so technically that now is your budget. Right? It's no longer my budget.
I feel really good about it. I feel like it's a really good budget. Yeah.
I'll present it for you.
Okay, so just to recap, we are going to be meeting next Wednesday, the 8th at 5:30 in a hybrid meeting to go over non-lapsing and to solidify some numbers of where the spend is going to be in that account. Good, okay. Right. And 7, Board of Finance is at 7. Yeah, we're not meeting other than for that non-lapsing. So that'll be a special meeting, Irma, and it'll be a full board special meeting. And then that takes us up to old business policy.
So I'm hoping everybody saw the policy 5144.4, just with, it was just the adjustments that we talked about in the meeting. So I'd just like to make a motion to approve policy 5144.4 as distributed.
I second.
Any discussion? The only thing I'd ask is that before we forward it to Cabe, it's all in the same font.
I actually changed all this.
Okay, it didn't,
It came out weird when I downloaded it. Okay. It came out weird when I downloaded it and then I turned it all the Times New Roman,
okay. I
which
did-
matched the
when
rest of our other fonts. Did it come across to you all
it
with a
came
weird font
across in
thing?
Two different,
It was doing that to me when I was downloading it and I don't know why. And then I was readjusting it and saving it. So,
because when I did mine, I had to move it into a Word doc. And
which
then-
mine was in a Word
yeah,
doc. That's
maybe
what I
it's-
attached. so
As
I don't
long as
know.
you corrected it, I don't
Okay,
care. I just know
sweet.
some of ours that are older look kind of funky, so if we can. All right, thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
All right, do we have any public comment before we go into executive session? Not seeing any. We need a motion to go into executive session. To
I'll make
discuss.
the motion.
Right,
I'll second.
all right, all those in favor? Aye.
All right.
Abstain. Thank you. Stop it. That's it. That's it. Okay, are we good?
Let me just double check a few things.
All right.
Recording paused. Yeah.
All right,
we should
just
be good.
wait 1 minute.
Oh, hold on a second. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Does this do something different if I'm on YouTube somewhere?